Do we have another case of race manipulation? At the end of Thursday night's NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race at Bristol Motor Speedway, Tricon Garage maybe pulled a Michael Waltrip Racing. Well, not really Michael Waltrip Racing, but we did see a teammate potentially play a factor in his teammate winning the race. For once, Tanner Gray was a factor at the end of a race, not going for the race win, of course, but he was 3 laps down. 7 laps to go, coming to 6 laps to go. Corey Heim gets inside of Christian Eckes, and for whatever reason, going into the corner, the 15 truck of Tanner Gray decides to go high. And keep this in mind. Nobody was running the high line on Thursday night in the Truck Series race at Bristol because the PJ1 was so strong on the bottom. So it was a lot like an old Bristol race. For everybody that wanted old Bristol, Thursday night was the race for you because it was a bottom-feeding race. So for whatever reason, Tanner Gray decides to go high and let the lap-down cars pass him. And then as his teammate and Christian Eckes are coming up to pass him as well on corner exit, he decides to race them down the straightaway. Doesn't give Eckes that room to carry his speed off the corner. The 11-car truck of Corey Heim manages to get past. He takes the lead, goes on to win the race. Eckes leads 150 of 200 laps and comes home second. After the race, he was pretty annoyed by this, and you can take a listen to what he had to say right here.
He's been sitting here processing the last lap here, and I want to go back to you and Corey Heim. When you take this one in, is there anything you could have done different there at the end?
I just think it's a little ironic that the 15's 3 laps down and waited, but whatever. Good truck. I got really tight there at the end.
It was the wrong use of the word ironic, but we're not going to let that stand in the way. He is potentially right. It is it's a convenient coincidence, is how I put it, that the 15 truck just happened to be right there, happened to just be alongside them on corner exit when he had no real business of being there, and decided to race them off the corner. The 11 truck gets the lead, and Eckes has to settle for second. And was the 11 truck faster than the 19 truck at the end of the race? Yes, but having his teammate help him out definitely helped him secure the lead. Now the question is, did they do it on purpose? And Michael Waltrip, who knows a thing or two about race manipulation, immediately absolved Tanner Gray of any wrongdoing. Same with Phil Parsons, which is kind of funny because they're not at the track. They have no idea what's going on. Michael, not going to go down that road, but it is funny that they're immediately like, no, Tanner Gray did nothing wrong. And it's like, well, I don't know. You can make up your own decision whether you think somebody did something wrong or not, and in this case, this is very much open for interpretation. Could the 15 truck have just slowed down enough to let those two pass and the 19 of Christian Eckes carry his speed off the corner? Absolutely. Did he consciously make a decision to not do that? You could also argue that as well, but to immediately absolve him is a bit funny, considering that's also coming from a guy whose team famously fixed a race to make sure that they could get into the chase at that time. It did feel a bit like the 2021 incident between Chase Elliott and Kevin Harvick, where Chase slowed Harvick down so much that he was able to allow his teammate and Kyle Larson to pass him and steal the win. Kind of felt like that, not as blatant, because for what Chase did was incredibly blatant, and under NASCAR's new revised rules, I believe, would be a substantial penalty. The question still just comes down to the fact of, like, is that race manipulation? And granted, we haven't heard the radio from it, and I'm sure NASCAR will potentially go back and just take a listen to what the radio is there and whether he was instructed to maybe race the 19 harder or anything like that. But it does leave a bit of a bad taste in your mouth when obviously winning that race locks you into the championship race. Not Christian Eckes, rather, but Corey Heim is now locked into that championship race at Phoenix literally almost 2 months from now. The Truck Series schedule is absolutely insane. There's 7 weeks until the championship race, and there's only 2 truck races until then, which is, the Truck Series schedule is insane. But Corey Heim is already locked in to Phoenix. Christian Eckes potentially had a golden ticket to that championship race taken away from him. And as well as he's been running, he should go out to Homestead and Talladega and probably, point his way in if he doesn't end up winning. Regardless, though, you potentially have a teammate interfering with the outcome of a race to benefit his other teammate, and I think everybody should potentially have an issue with that. Whether that was an intention or not, we don't actually know. But there is a case to be made that Tricon did manipulate the finish of that race. There's also a case to be made that Tricon did not manipulate the finish of that race. Is Tanner Gray conscious enough during that race to know that he needs to try to slow down the 19 truck of Christian Eckes to help out Corey Heim? I don't think so. not without somebody telling him over the radio that he needs to do that. And if he does do that, well, then that does fall under that race manipulation factor. If he's just out there turning laps, gets out of the way to try to let these faster trucks go by, and then just, unfortunately, the 19 truck happens to be alongside him right there, and it's just a coincidence, that's just unfortunate luck for Christian Eckes. And maybe that's how the racing gods sort of repay him for stealing a win a week ago at Kansas. They're like, hey, listen, you stole that one, you can't have this one. Maybe that's how it plays out. But it is a bit of a funny coincidence. So, let me know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard and Twitter and Instagram at BreakHardBlog.